Hi everyone, I'm Emily Gillespie and you're here with me for my weekly art chat. When I was in elementary school, my art teacher told me I wasn't good at arts. Kids that age often think that their teachers know everything, and I was one of them, so I believed her. And for many, many years, I quit doing any kind of activities that I thought were artistic. And it took until I was married with a young child at home to rediscover my creative abilities and to learn that creativity is not measured by how well you can draw something, but I realized how much joy making things brings to my life, and I've never looked back. That was in 2012. Now I love to cheer on other women with encouragement and help them reconnect with the things that bring them creative joy. These art chats are a way for me to share my thoughts on subjects like self-care for creatives, the evolution of an artist's voice, and learning to be vulnerable in sharing your work and gifts. I'm so glad you're joining me here tonight. Last week, I talked about the importance of creativity in times of despair. If you missed it, I really encourage you to go back and watch, or you can go to emilygileski.com to read a written version. Today, though, I wanted to continue that train of thought, and I wanted to discuss how you can intentionally see, create, and share beauty to combat all those things in the world around us. There's so much ugliness and despair, especially with what's currently going on in the Middle East and all around the world. It seems like all you have to do is turn on the TV, pick up a newspaper, log on to social media, or, almost just walk outside your door, and it's really easy to find stories of crime or devastation or heartache. But I believe that beauty is an act of defiance against those things, and I think that we can combat that by doing three things. So the first thing is to dare to see beauty. And that kind of requires a mindset shift. It's a conscious choice and something you have to be intentional about. It's important to realize that the word beautiful or beauty in this context doesn't refer just to things that fit a certain aesthetic. I read a quote this morning while I was getting ready for this art chat, and I think it captures that concept pretty well. It's from someone named Greg Braden, who is an author and a scientist who explores the link between science and spirituality. So his quote is from one of his books, and I didn't write down the name of the book, but I'm sure you can look it up if you're interested. But it goes, "Beauty is more than the things that are pleasing to our eyes. It is an experience of the heart, mind, and soul. Beauty comes from our willingness to see the perfection in what we often call the imperfections of life. To find beauty in each experience, perhaps our role is less about creating it and more about recognizing that it's already here. Beauty is always present in all things. It may be found in places where we believe that beauty could never exist. The power to see beauty is a choice." So, visual beauty is only part of it, and that only scratches the surface. I think beauty is much more than that. It's in human interaction, it's in our relationships, and it can be found in moments all around us. It's in the simple things that you could easily pass by without even noticing, like warm sunlight shining through the branches of a tree on a chilly day. Beauty is an experience, and also it's who people are on the inside. It's a quality and a characteristic in each one of us. So how can you add more beauty to your life? That's the question. The first possible way is to just be present. Learn to be an observer and use your senses. The second way is to slow down, and you can do this by taking in the small in-between moments of your life. Of course, something like the sunset, that's big and grand and gorgeous and lovely, but there's so much beauty in the smaller moments too. So you need to learn to pay attention so you can look and see deeper than what's directly in front of you. Number 3 is to reflect on the imperfections. And at the end of the day, you could think back on what you did or what you saw. What did you miss when you were preoccupied doing something else? What didn't go according to plan, but still had its own moments of goodness in its own way? And I'm certainly guilty of that too. It's so easy to get caught up in what you're doing that you've got your blinders on, you're focused, you're concentrating, and you can kind of recognize that there's other things going on around you, but they don't always register right away. So it's really important to think back about those things, recognize them in your heart and in your mind, and not just within yourself, but if there was someone else involved, or someone else that created that moment of beauty, let them know. That's really important too, I think. Maureen says, that's why I like to paint flowers and plants that aren't necessarily considered beautiful. Plain and mundane can, quote, often be the most beautiful. And I think, and then she said she's got some typos in there, so I don't know if I read that quite right. But yeah, she's got the right idea. It's about perspective, I think. And that ties into what I was actually about to say next, which is it's important to note that there's no right or wrong way to see beauty. Beauty is subjective, so we all have our own perspective and way of seeing things, of seeing the world. And so don't let anyone tell you that things that appeal to you aren't beautiful, because they might not recognize that, but if you do, that's what's important here. Secondly, be encouraged to make beauty. So in addition to seeing and recognizing the beautiful things that are around us, we have the power to make it. Whether you create beauty by making lovely paintings, preparing delicious meals, decorating your home to gather and welcome people, composing music, capturing moments through photography, with a written word, whatever it is that you do, whatever your gifts are, those things are valuable and lovely, and they add so much to the world. They add richness not just to your experience, but to other people's too. But more than that, as I said before, beauty can be found in human relationships and interactions. But beauty is also an action, just as much as it is something to behold. So I want you to think, how can you take action to help others or to change your own community? And as silly and cliche as this sounds, one way to do that is to do good deeds. I really believe that. There's so many different ways that you can carry that out, whether that's baking for your neighbors, offering words of encouragement and support to people who are struggling, bringing or serving meals to people who need it. Hold the door open for the person behind you, even if they're just far enough away that it might be awkward. Do it anyway. You could invite a lonely friend over for coffee and just be a good listener, spend time with them, let them be heard and feel seen, and tell people what they mean to you. I think that's really important too. We don't often share with people how special they are to us. You could also volunteer or donate to a nonprofit. You could teach, be a mentor or a friend, or just, if there's nothing else you can do, really, just pray for the people around you. And you don't need to tell them about it. It doesn't matter if they know that or not. But that's something beautiful that you can do for others. Even if that's not something that's important to them. Third, so we've covered daring to see beauty, being encouraged to make beauty, and now this third one is being empowered to share beauty. So along with the other two, it's important that you don't just keep what you make or see. Don't just keep that to yourself. You have to include other people in it. Show them what you're doing, or let them know just about the things that you see around you. Tell them in person, share it in social media, send a text, send a letter, send an email, pick up the phone and call them. However you do it, offer it to them, because that is an offering, I think. There's something lovely in the world that's important to you, and taking the step to share it with them, that says a lot. And again, beauty is subjective, like I said before, so don't be too hard on yourself if other people don't get it. They might disagree, or they might see something completely different than you. But on the other hand, you might get them to see things in a new way, or allow them to be inspired and uplifted just as you have been. And that's really a great gift that you can give somebody. Beauty draws us in and inspires the best in us. It offers hope. It brings us together. It is timeless and life-affirming. And sharing all these different ways that you can experience beauty is a way of bringing goodness into the world. So keep doing it. Be persistent and be consistent. Dostoevsky, I can never pronounce that name. Dostoevsky wrote, "Beauty will save the world. Beauty will save the world." And there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could interpret that based upon, the story and his background and the other literature that he's written. But I think that's true. I've believed that for a really long time, and I think that kind of similar to, you've heard the story about the butterfly effect. One small action can ripple and cascade throughout the world and cause some kind of change on the other side of the world. But in this case, I think, one action of beauty can affect another person, and if that person takes a step to impact someone else, and so on and so on, and then before you know it, that single instance that you started, it's spread throughout other people, and it's radiated out to affect a whole lot of other people. And so you've uplifted and inspired and encouraged and empowered all these people just by doing one small thing. And if we all take part and just a little bit of that, I think it can have a really big impact. And of course, it might not completely get rid of tragedy and despair and the darkness in the world, but maybe it'll bring a little bit of light to the people who need it in their darkest moments. Thanks for listening to this week's Art Chat. I'll be back again next week with a new episode, and so make sure you're following me here on Instagram. You'll get notified of future episodes, or you can join my mailing list, and you'll be the first to know about new art collections, new blog posts, behind the scenes info, if I'm doing an in-person event, and more. So go to emilyjalewski.com to sign up. I'll see you next time. Have a great week.